Hi guys, and welcome to the OneClass channel. My name is Shenaeze, and today we're going to be going over some commonly asked high school and mathematics questions for the university and high school level. My name is Shenaeze again, and I'm a second year student at McMaster University. I'm currently in life science, doing a minor in environmental science. And if you guys want any tutoring or homework help, check the links in the description below, and let's get started. So our first question is, how do you simplify 1 over x to the power negative 2? And the answer to that, we're going to be using the property of exponents, especially when we have a negative exponent. So if you guys didn't know already, 1 over a exponent, 1 over a base with an exponent is the same as a to the negative b. But over here we have a negative right over there. So we're going to use a similar method. So we're going to use this rule, properties of exponent, and put that into the question that we were asked. So 1 over x to the negative 2 would be the same as x to the power of negative 2. And negative times negative just equals a positive. So that equals to x to the power of 2. And that is our final answer. Just gonna write it again. It's x squared. And that is our final answer. So the special product formula of the product of sum and difference of terms is brackets a plus b, bracket close, another bracket a minus b is the same as. So we're gonna write that down. And basically what they're saying is a plus b times a minus b is the same as, we're gonna use FOIL first just to kind of know what it actually is. So FOIL, if you guys don't know, F stands for first term, O stands for outer term, I stands for inner, and L stands for last. So we're going to multiply our first term, our A, with our first term and our outer term, and then our inner term, and then our last term. So that would equal a squared minus ab plus ab minus b squared. Right? If you haven't noticed, these are going to get canceled out because it's a negative and a positive and the values are the same, so that is going to equal 0, and we are left with a squared minus b squared. So basically what they're trying to say is that a plus b, or the difference, the product of the sum and difference of terms, is this, is equals to a squared minus b squared. if we use that in the example that they've given us, so 5 plus x and 5 minus x, we could see that we can do this a long way of multiplying, either choosing the FOIL method, or we can do it based on our knowledge. So a squared is matter, we can take a to be 5, right? Or we can take a to be x, but let's just take a for x. So x squared minus b, which is 5 squared. We can simplify this term over here into x squared minus 25, and that will be our answer. Just be careful of the signs. It would actually be minus 25. Okay. Our next question is, what are the roots of the quadratic expression x squared plus x plus 5 is equal to 0 using the quadratic formula? So if you guys don't know what the quadratic formula is, I'm just going to write it out for you, which is x is equals to negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And if you, the standard form of a quadratic function is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So our a value, our b value, and our c value are really important for the quadratic formula. Over here, we're given x squared plus x plus 5 is equals to 0. The first thing that I would like to do is identify what a, b, and c are. So in this case, a is 1, b is also 1, and c is 5. We're just going to use these values over here and plug them into the quadratic function or equation. So x is equals to negative, b is 1, plus minus the square root of b squared would be 1 minus 4, a is 1, and c is 5. So b over 2 and a is 1. So this would be negative 1 plus minus the square root of 21 minus 20, which is negative 119, over 2 times 1 which would be just 2 in general. And since negative 19, because you can't have a negative underneath a square root, because it won't end up being a real number, we introduce I is equals to 1 over, we introduce real root we introduce I is equals to negative 1. So I is equals to negative 1. And then we can plug that into our equation. So negative 1 plus minus I. We take the negative out of the equation once we put the I in, and we are left with 19 over 2. So our x1 is going to be negative 1 plus I 119 over 2, and our x2 would be negative 1 minus I square root of 19 over 2. So those are going to be our solutions, or our final number. The reason why we can't divide this more is again because of the negative sign, but those are just our final answers. How do you graph the function y is equal to 5x plus 1? So, we are given a linear equation. Y is equals to 5x plus 1. The standard equation of a line is y is equals to mx plus b. Our m being the slope, which is either rise over run, or our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when you're given two different coordinates, you can just write that out. Our b value is our y-intercept. So that's when our line intercepts the y-axis. There we go. So now what we can use this and kind of draw out our function equation. One, two, three, 4, 5, 7, 10. So what we know for sure is our y-intercept. We know that when x is equal to 0, y would be 1. So we go to x and we go to y, and we plot our first point, which is over here. So when x is 0, y would be 1. Then we can use the rise over run method. So our slope, as we know it, is 5, or 5 over 1 basically. So rise over run. So you rise 5 and you go across or run 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be at 6 and 1. So our first coordinate would be at 6. You can also take an x coordinate and plug into the original equation. So if I take 1 and I plug it into 5x plus 1 and use 1 for x, we're going to get 6. We can use the same thing, and for 2 we're going to get 11. And from there we can kind of tell that That is our line. Kind of like that. Right over there. Where is a more accurate one? Okay, like that. So that is how we kind of graph it. And again, as long as you have 1 or 2 points on a linear line, for sure that you know 2 points, you can basically just graph it. So over here, our 2 points were 0 and 1, and over here, our point was 1 and 6. So those are 2 points. You can also put 2 and 11 as a point. It's completely up to you. What are the solutions to the quadratic equation x squared minus 16 is equals to 0? So we can do this a bunch of different ways. We can use difference of squares. We can use factoring. I like to use factoring, so we're going to use that to solve this equation. So x squared minus 116 is equal to 0. Or we can use difference of squares or anything. So how we do that is we look at the two equations, the two terms in our equation. So we look at this x squared and we look at negative 16, and you try to take the square of each. So the first term, x squared, if you take a square, it should end up with a perfect square. So this ends up being x. If you take 16 and you square it, you get 4, which is a perfect square, which means you can use this for difference of squares. So, what difference of squares is a minus b, a plus b is equals to a squared minus b squared. Or the reverse can happen, a squared minus b squared can equal a minus b and a plus b. So over here we have this form right here, this one. This one right here. So I'm going to use that. Our x was x squared. When you square, you get x, and 16 when you square it, you get 4. So our first term is going to be x for our first bracket, and you can either put minus or plus, it doesn't really matter. And our second term would be 4 for our first bracket. And then we basically have to put the same numbers, but change the order of operations. If it's plus, you have to put minus. If you put minus first, you have to put plus after. So x plus 4. And that is the solution. How you can find the solution now is you equal this whole thing to 0. And you basically say x minus 4 is equals to 0, and then you can just solve for x. So x is equals to 4 in this situation, and over here x plus 4 is equals to 0. When you isolate for x, you get x is equals to negative 4. And those are your two solutions. So x is equals to negative 4 and 4. So those are either the solutions, or you can say zeros of the function, or solutions or roots of the function. Our next question asks us if f of x is equals to x squared minus x, how do you find f at 2x? So when we get an equation like this, if they've given us a value that they want to input, in this case it's 2x, we just plainly just put that in for our x value. So we're going to put 2x everywhere on the original equation where it says x. It's that simple. So our original equation is f of x is equals to x squared minus x. What we're going to put in is 2x. So 2x squared minus 2x. And that would be our equation. And then we can simplify this further. So that would be 4x squared minus 2x. And that would be our answer. Don't try to like divide out like 2x and then have like 2x minus 1, because that's just the same thing. Then you have to multiply it back in. It's completely fine if you leave it like that. That is our final answer. 2x is equals to 4x squared minus 2x. Our next question asks us to turn logarithmics into exponential or turn exponential into logarithmics. So one thing that we have to remember is log, I'll put it in blue, log base A is equal, right here. So one thing that you have to remember is that y is equals to x is one form, and then base to power y, oh, sorry. So these are the important exponential and logarithmic conversions that you have to remember when solving these questions. So for our first one, we have log 8 times 8 is equals to 1. So the exponential form of this would be, we take the base 8, then to the power of y, which is 1, and then our x value, which is 8, and that's our exponential form. Our next example is log 8, 64 is equals to 2. So for that one, it will be our exponential. So we take the base, which is 8 again, and then we take our y, which is 2. So here you can look, our y value, which is 2, is equals to our x value, which is, in this case, 64. And that is correct. Let's move on to the next one. This one is for turning exponential to logarithmic. So our exponential is 8 to the power 2 over 3 is equals to 4. So again, that is base times y is equals to x. So, and that will need to turn into log of base times x is equals to y. So for that, it will be log of 8 to x. So our x in this case is 4, and our y is 2 over 3. Our next question is 8 to the power of 3 is equals to 512, and we need to convert that into logarithmic. So again, this is b times y x is log of b x is equals to y. So our log, our b is 8 in this situation, our x is 512, and our y is 3. Our second last one in this situation is log with the base 8, log base 8, 1 over 8 is equals to -1. So convert that into b to y x. So our base is 8 in this situation, correct? Our y in this situation is -1 is equals to x, and our x value is this 1 over 8. So that is our thing. And our last one is an exponential to logarithmic. So it's 8 is equals to negative, or 8 to the power -2 is 1 over 64. That's b to the y is equals to x. Log b x is equals to y. So log b, our base is 8 over here. Our x value is this over here, 1 over 64 is equals to our y value, which is -2. The next question asks us to simplify the following expression. Which is 35 plus bracket 113 plus bracket plus 8 minus 6. Now, you guys don't know, we're going to be using BEDMAS. BEDMAS. Actually, I'll write it like this. B stands for brackets, so brackets come first. E stands for exponents, they come second. D stands for division or divide. M stands for multiplication. A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. Those are the orders order of operation that we're going to perform. So over here, although brackets come first, they're already pretty much solved on their own. They don't have more than one term in it, which means that they are in their simplest form and solved to their simplest form. So then we can go ahead and we can do addition first. So we're going to be doing addition first. And in this case, we have to 35. We can add from right up. So we can add 35 to negative 113. Plus 8 minus 6. So we're gonna take that term first, and 35 plus negative 13 leaves us with 35, 22. So 22, that equals 22, and then we're just gonna write down whatever we have left. Minus 6. Next, we're gonna add these two terms. 22 plus 8 equals 30, and then we're going to just write down all of our remaining terms. A negative and a negative when they're added together, so if there is a positive and a positive being multiplied together, that equals to a positive. When you have a positive and a negative, that equals negative. When you have a negative and a negative, that equals a positive. So in this case, we have a negative and a negative. So I'm going to bring that here. So the negative and the negative is going to equal a positive 30 plus 66, and that will equal a 36. So that is our final answer. Next, we are head to a word problem. So 8 less than 4 times a number is less than 56. What are the possible values for that number? So 8 less, I'm just going to write it down and then we can break it down. Word problems, I suggest using the grass method. So what that is G stands for given. So write down every single thing that is important in solving your problem that is given in your word problem. R is write down what is required for you to get the marks. Like what are they asking? What should your answer be? Should it be how many kgs does it weigh? How much does it cost? Like what are they asking you? A is any of your basically analysis. Any of your equations they're going to be using or formulas they're going to be using, just write that down. S is your actual work, so you're solving it, and the last S is a whole sentence explaining your answer. So if it's like how many cookies should she get, then it should be like she should get a blank amount of cookies. Okay, so 8 less than 4 times a number is less than 56. So we can start off whenever it says a number, it kind of shows you that it's inconsistent. There's not a fixed value associated with it, it's just a number. And whenever you're just given a number or a number or a value, you can use variables. So normally variables are just letters. You can use any, A, B, C, D. The most common one used is X, and that's what we're going to be using. So we're going to start off with X. Oh, sorry. Start off with X. And we are going to start breaking the question down. So 4 times. Think of add in any of the multiplication or division that is being added to that number. So either if it's 4 times or half or anything that indicates a multiplication or division going on, do that first. So over here, we're going to tackle the 4 times a number first, which kind of hints at 4x. 4 times x is our number, so 4x. 8 less than, so we can minus 8 from that. And notice how it doesn't, and we've already tackled this, and notice how it doesn't say is equal to, otherwise we could have just put like equals to 56 and get it done with, but it doesn't say that, it says less than. So we're just gonna add in our less than value, or a sign right there. Then we just have to find the inequality. So how we do that is we basically isolate for x. So we can do that by adding 8 to each side. If you add 8, 56 plus 8. So over here, this is going to cancel out because it's going to end up being 0. We're left with 4x is 64. And then what we can do is divide 4 on each side. 4x is less 64 divided by 4, which is, on my calculator, 64 divided by 4 is 16. So x is less than 16. So again, therefore, the possible values for the number are less than 16. Our next question asks us, what is the t in the formula d is equals to rt? So what is the t in the equation t is equals to rt? So what they're basically just asking us to do is isolate for t from this equation. And so we can write that equation down. And how we can do that, all we have to do is get rid of the r. And we can get rid of the r by dividing r on each side. So this ends up getting canceled out, and we are left with t is equals to d over r. Simplify this expression. 13 plus negative 12 minus negative 5. So again, we're going to be using BEDMAS. B stands for brackets, E is exponents, D is division, M is multiplication, A is addition, and S is subtraction. So we're going to be doing that, and we're also going to keep in mind that a positive and a positive equal a positive and a negative equal a negative, and a negative and a negative, when they're multiplied, equal a positive. So let's start off with, since it's all just everywhere, we're going to start with left to right. So we're going to start from this term, adding these two terms first. So 13 plus negative 12, that equals to 1. And then we're left with, don't forget, a lot of people just forget and then they just say 1's the answer. That's not right. We still have this part left. So 1 minus negative 5. And as we talked about above, when you have a negative and a negative, that turns into a positive. So 1 plus 5 is equals to 6. So our answer is 6, or option A. There we go. Okay. 2 plus x and 50. What one number can replace x? So these are ratios, and they're basically just saying that the first ratio equals the second one. So what we can do is turn the ratio into factored form. So A, B is the same as C and D, and if we turn this into fraction form, it would be A over B is the same as C over D. Then we can take the values that we already have. So we have 2x is equals to x 50. So we can use this. This is our A, that's our B, that's our C, and that's our D. And plug it into this right here. So our A is 2 over x is equals to C is x over 50. We can cross multiply, and we're going to get x squared is equals to 50 times 20, which is 100. So x squared is equals to 100. We need to solve for x because that's what they're asking us. So we can just square root to get rid of the exponent 2, or to the power 2, and we're left with x is equals to 10. Now when we plug this back into our equation, which was 2x is the same as x 50, once we plug this in to these two, 2 is the ratio of 10 is equals to 10 to 50. We can kind of see that once we put this back into fraction, that it's the same thing. So 2 over 10, because that's A, B, C, D, and that's A over B is equals to C over D. So A is 2 over 10 is the same as 10 over 50, sorry. And once we simplify this, this equals to 1, so we can divide this by 2, and this by 2, and we get 1 over 5, the same as we can divide this by 10, and divide this by 10, and we're left with 1 over 5. So we know that that's correct. those were all the questions that we had for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this live stream. If you guys have more questions or just need some one-on-one tutoring help or homework questions, check the links in the description below. This was Shenaeze from OneClass, and